Hello, everyone. My name is Finn B. Irwin, and I'm joined alongside Don Sullivan. And welcome to the ECRL Formula X Great Britain Grand Prix. Don, we have some exciting action here today.
Yeah, it's obviously going to be a great day around the Silverstone circuit here in Great Britain, and I feel like a lot of the guys are ready to go for this exciting race. I will say, though, it's looking a little bit gray outside the commentary box window, and it looks like it might be sprinkling just a little bit as the cars are lined up on the grid. What's important to note, though, is they're all on the dry tires, but it looks like the rain is coming in, so possibly a wrench in plans to start this one off, and possibly I think a lot of the guys on the pit wall are definitely getting those notebooks out and looking at those stat sheets for sure as we get ready to start this one. Let's take a quick look at the points. You obviously have Monster at the top, as of course he did win the last race out in Austria. Coquito is currently P2, but only 8 points back. Braden sits P3, and he's not really in title contention at the moment. As we move over to the constructors, Mercedes practically already have one hand on the trophy. Let's head down to the grid and get ready to go for 26 laps. The rain comes down, the lights are on, and it's lights out. And away we go. Ivo gets a good start, but here comes Coquito, trying to go up the inside already at Abbey, but Ivo gets the power down on the outside of the corner as they come through Farm Curve for the first time today. Ivo with the advantage now as they head down towards Village for the first time and now come back towards the second half of the loop. Braden and the Red Bull Moose under pressure from Greco and the Williams. Then he's got Brian Bromley up the inside of him as they come down the Wellington Straight for the first time here today. Coquito trying to pull out to the outside lane now, trying to make that move stick. Ivo's going to sail it off the inside, and he's going to still be clear of the Merc. The rain is starting to come down, though, as they come now through Luffield for the first time today. Out of Luffield now, down towards Woodcut. It's going to be Ivo at the front of the field. Coquito still in P2. Braden in third, side by side for fourth. Behind them, here comes Momster, though. He had a grid penalty to start, started P7. Now he's trying to make his way up through the field so far here today.
And CPI, he is a newcomer here to the ECRL Formula X Series. He got an impressive pole position, and right now, he's still at the point, but Coquito is hot on his trails as we focus throughout the field. Puck right now in the 7th position. We have McLaren holding 7th and 8th spots. Right now, Braden in P3, kind of holding that spot right now, biding his time. You know,
The question I'm... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
as I say, Braden has won the past 2 Silverstone Grand Prix. What are the odds you think that he can make it a three-peat?
I mean, it's going to be tricky, I think, for him because the rain's coming down now, but that also throws a bit of a wrench in the plan. I feel like he's solid in the wet, but I think Greco's already trying to put the pressure on him for fourth, so for third. I feel like it's already going to be a tough day and an uphill battle for the Red Bull Moose. And, you know, we look at the second Red Bull Moose down in 16th. So the Red Bull Moose car obviously not going along very good so far this season, and we've seen it. The struggles out of that team to start out this season is just already super, super tricky. Of course, the one win on the season back in Zandvoort, but I feel like that's just how driver meshes with track more than it is driver meshing with the car. As we start we're already on lap 2, but as we go down the Hanger Straight, headed back into Stowe, it looks like Ivo is trying to open up a gap to Coquito just that little bit, so he's going to be trying to extend that lead. Of course, he is a newcomer, as of course Finn was saying, and so he's going to be absolutely trying to win in his first start and prove his name. The rain is really coming down. Here comes Greco trying to get a run on the Red Bull Moose as they come down the Sir Lewis Hamilton pit straight. Greco might have the advantage. No, he doesn't, as Ivo puts down the fastest lap of the race. Meanwhile, a couple guys, as we saw in the back already, on those intermediate tires. That's going to be Charles, Max, and Uno Cinco, I believe, at the moment. And so we're going to have to see. That's going to be a true test for a lot of these guys, is where their pace is compared to the others on those soft tires. Momster has gotten by Brian, trying to set his sights up for Greco. Greco tries to come up the inside of the Red Bull Moose. Can he make that work in the Williams? Not quite there through left field, but he's going to set it back up through left field. Greco up the inside of the Red Bull Moose has a slide out of the Red Bull Moose, and Greco gets by the Red Bull Moose by the time they get to Woodcut, and it looked like the Red Bull Moose struggled for the power and it slid on traction as Momster now comes through Cup's corner. And I think it's very interesting to note that even on strict track limits for this race here, no penalties are being awarded very, very quickly. So it looks like they can still bend it just a little bit around this place, but yeah, it's a little strange. There's a big slide out of the Red Bull Moose there. Ivo leads, then Coquito, then Greco. Here comes Momster. And here comes Momster, though. Now Momster's going to be up into P4. And that is not what Coquito needs, as we see Ivo coming into the pit lane. Coquito as well, Momster, so it is definitely time to put on those intermediates. The drivers feel it. Greco with a 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Same thing with Abi in his debut race for Ferrari. And we've gotten word that this will also be his last race in ECRL for the time being, as Guetta and Oscar stay out. Ivo comes out of the pit lane, then it's Coquito, then Greco, then Braden, and it looks like Momster was held up by the double stack there out of the Mercedes team, and now that's going to put him behind the 8 ball even further.
And man, there's just a lot of exciting action very early on in this race. That is the dose of chaos that rain weather brings to an event like this. But the big question you have to be thinking is, with Esgueta and Oscar staying out, is this the right move for them? Yes, they are 1 and 2 right now, but they are surely losing tons of time to those lead cars like CPI, Coquito, Greco, Braden.
Well, if you actually look there in the back shot, there is Ivo coming out of Chapel down the Hanger Straight. These guys are going to be well off the pace. He's gained a second through time, and I was watching the timing charts. It's almost insane the amount of time that he's actually gained. Another second and a half there as Guetta comes into the pits. Oscar, I believe, is coming in as well there. And yeah, so it's tricky to make that call whenever it is, but I feel like the train of drivers in front of you beforehand should have been that teller of come in now. So looks like Coquito is struggling on these wet tires as we start lap 5. Greco trying to put pressure on the Mercedes, and this has got to be a good feeling for Greco. Of course, he ended out last season with the Silver Arrows, and then, of course, was pretty much canned from the team at the start of the season, and so was demoted back to Williams. So it's got to be a very good feeling putting pressure on the higher-up team there. As here he comes to the inside of Coquito. Looks like Coquito knows he's faster, going to cede position instead of fighting and costing too much time. Probably a smart decision there from Coquito. And I tell you, those are the decisions that make a good race car driver great. They know when the fight is worth it or not worth it. And of course, everybody's going to want to say, well, you know, why wouldn't you fight that position? You know, I mean, you want to stay in the highest position you can, but when you fight like that, you're going to probably lose more time, and it is only lap number 5 as Ivo is trying to drive off with the lead, and Coquito is probably also looking at his mark saying, hey, he's got a 10-second time penalty, so I'm not too terribly worried about it at the moment. As we now focus back on the field with Axel Eddy in P11 in the Williams.
You know, touching back on CPI, he is having a really, really impressive run thus far. You have to remember, he had to race his way in through the exhibition, which had a record-setting 17 drivers for the pre-knockout before qualifying.
Yeah.
And that is
ECRL
one thing that
record, too.
32 total drivers attempted to compete in the Great Britain Grand Prix here today.
Insane stuff to see, and I think what really hindered a lot of people's progress in that race was it was also another pouring rain race for that one. So it was unfortunate. If you struggle in the wets, then It was a very, very tricky race to qualify into, but Greco dominated that one, and he is proving that he is a very, very, very handy guy in these slippery conditions right now in P2. Meanwhile, Momster trying to put the pressure back on his old McLaren teammate Puck. No love lost between these two. He was gotten by Arnie, his old Mercedes teammate, funny enough, and now he is trying to get by his other old McLaren teammate in Puck, and he's going to be practically pushing him down the hangar straight. They're just tandem drafting like an old 2011 style plate race. As we see Coquito now back up into P3 trying to run down Greco, but at the moment, Greco is currently trying to run down Ivo, and I don't know if it's really working, but he's keeping that gap pretty steady as Momster almost went for a move up to Abby, but he slid. Puck goes off the track. Momster around the outside at Farm Curve, and he's going to have the inside line on the brakes. Momster gets that move done by the time they complete Village, and now through the loop. Momster's going to have that position, and now Puck's going to have to be kicking himself thinking, why did I go off the track? Obviously, it looks like it's getting a lot more slippery out there, though. No?
Yeah, the rain just keeps pouring down, and, you know, that's just going to make everything that much harder to drive for these drivers. But it also brings out the best of the best. You'll see it is a true test of a driver's skill driving out in wet conditions. And as the old expression goes, the cream rises to the top.
Yeah, and the best drivers come out in the wets because the rain is a great equalizer indeed, and it shows you what machine can do compared to quote unquote man. So, of course, we see that now, and it looks like now Braden is trying to run down Coquito, but that gap stays at about the 2-second mark. Momster trying to put the pressure back on the Red Bull Moose, and I will tell you, Momster's pace so far today is being very, very underlooked. I mean, he's already had to come from from about seventh, got up to about fourth by the time they came in for the pit stop in the slippery conditions, and is now getting back up to where he was running prior to that pit stop. So I think all eyes are going to be on the Mercedes, of course, our championship leader. Time will have to tell just how much he can actually get back through the field. So to be determined as we focus on Axeletti and his battle now with Holy Schmoly. Cash Boy has been given a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Charles Max, the same penalty as well for multiple warnings, and the penalties start to rack up towards the bottom of the field. Currently in P19, P20, you have Danny and Uno Cinco. So far, so good for those guys in the back. They're just trying to log laps and get experience, as much experience as they can. So the big thing is, at the moment, keep all cars on the track, and if you can do that, then you're going to be pretty solid. And Momster is catching the Red Bull Moose very, very quickly as Brian gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Very, very strange to see out of the Ferrari driver who is such an ambassador for those strict track limits. And of course, he's going to abuse them. Jamie Taco, a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. And you got to wonder, is that just because of how little grip there is on this circuit? The tarmac is very, very wet. We can see it through our commentary box window. It's slippery out there. And the question is, how much is this spray affecting some of the cars behind? Momster trying to put the pressure on the Red Bull now for P4. Can he make that work? He's getting ever so close. Braden's also starting to run Coquito down just a little bit, and if he can get there, can Momster now get back to him as well? Here comes Momster. Going to be trying to give it everything that he can, and it looks like he's going to lose just a little bit there on exit of that corner as now they come down towards Brooklands once again. Here they come. Momster's going to close right back up, but then Braden's going to have it just a little bit better on the exit. Momster sails it off down into left field. Braden's going to get the traction down, try to pull away from him just a little bit, but he can't quite do it there. Here comes Momster. Momster in the Merc, Braden in the Red Bull Moose. Two rivals so far throughout this series. Can they make it work? Down towards Cup's corner. Braden's going to force him wide. Through Cup's, they both go off the track, but Braden stays ahead. And that might be just what he was planning on doing there. It looked like he moved to the right just a little bit. Momster tried to go the long way around, and Braden was saying, no, thank you. You force other drivers off the track sometimes. Why can't I do it to you? So in that moment, He was holding his own, but here comes Momster again. Braden's going to try to force him the long way round again. Momster runs into the back of him, and it looked like Braden might have just moved under braking there, trying to block Momster as best as he could, and he's going to do just that as well as they come down towards Vale now. Here comes Momster again, trying to put the pressure back on the Red Bull Moose. Is he going to have a move up the inside of Club? No, he can't do it there as they come down the Sir Lewis Hamilton pit straight. We see the rear shot now from the Red Bull Moose as they come down into Abbey. Momster is almost dipping a tire in the grass there if he didn't just as they now come through back towards Village. And these guys are catching Coquito. While they're fighting, they are catching Coquito. So keep that in mind. You can see on the timing charts, it has come down by about 5/10 so far. And Momster has left the session.
Yeah,
wow, we just got that message.
Yeah, that took me by surprise.
Momster is out of the session now at the moment. He's going to be losing a chunk of time already. 1.5 back to the Red Bull, 1.8, 1.9, 2 seconds. That's going to continue to drop. He's under pressure once again from Arnie. Oscar given a 3-second time penalty. Uno Cinco has also left the session, so now we're having issues of guys lagging out. The question is, how quickly can they get back in? That's one of the great things about the F1 games is you can get back in the session, but you have to really, really, really hurry, and Momster's going to be absolutely trying to get back in this thing. Braden is in fourth now with no pressure out back, so he's going to be having his sights set on Coquito. Coquito is losing time to Greco and Ivo. Greco is kind of keeping that gap steady about the 3.5 second range. Momster has joined the session. Okay, so Momster is back. Let's keep that in mind as they come now through Village and back towards Luffield. Coquito is currently in third, and he's going to be waiting on update for his teammate. He has currently been told his teammate has left the session, so he's going to be trying to get that information back to him and saying, okay, well, it doesn't look like I can help, as we see the Haas going very, very slowly, and he's going to be coming into the pit lane. So any word on Momster yet? It doesn't look like it. Brian's going to be P7, and he's going to be now the car right behind Momster. Momster's going very slowly, parking the bus. That's his AI controlling the car, and it doesn't look like he's going to be able to get that Mercedes back going. He's trying, though. He is trying. That is for sure. And so Ivo continues to lead this race by about 3.2 seconds. Coquito third, Braden fourth. That gap from third to fourth is kind of stabilized now at the 1.5 second margin.
And that was a little weird with the game right there. It just jolted Momster's car right behind Brian Bromley right there. Gotta love EA sometimes as we focus right back up on E. Greco, who has been catching.
Ivo has left the session!
Oh no!
Left the session!
And Momster's
out! Momster has retired the car! I don't think he voluntarily did that, but the AI has. That is very, very strange. So now Greco has a shot to be leading this race. And this has all happened before halfway. We still have over half a race to run. Ivo is out of the session. He's going to be trying to get that car back. Greco is running him down. Now we have Coquito in third. He's going to be trying to still get put under pressure from Braden. Let's take a look at our points gap, though, with Momster going out. Coquito now going to be running what's going to be here provisionally P1 with where he runs in that 10-second time penalty with Greco. So if Greco can't get that gap out to 10 seconds, Coquito right now is leading this race provisionally by the time they're going to catch up to Ivo,
of course. Not to mention that, but Coquito would overtake the championship lead where he runs at the moment.
Yeah, so crucial indeed. He would have the lead by about 10 points. No, sorry. About what? 7 points where he runs at the moment? So
I believe so.
He would be leading that one by about 7 points as Greco is going to get by the Alpine, who is under AI control. He's now going to try to drive off into the sunset, and he has to absolutely push on with it. Coquito getting put under pressure now from the Red Bull moves. Looks like it is time to go. The track is getting slicker by the moment, and Ivo's AI is going to come into the pit lane, and what I'm thinking it is it's time for the full wets, and the AI knows it's time for the full wets, and so they're going to come put him on the full wets, even though it looks like a lot of the guys are keeping it on the track in the intermediate conditions. And you can see there from our cameras, yes, it's wet, but there is a pretty noticeable dry line to the naked eye. You can definitely see it's a dry line that's still on the track, and that's really where you want to stay. If you dip a tire off into the wet stuff, it's going to be slippery, but if you can keep it on the dry line, then I feel like it could still be enter conditions, but the rain is really coming down. We're getting a lot of reports from the guys on the radio saying it is definitely raining quite a bit. We have now just hit the halfway point in this race. Braden is right there now with Coquito as they come through Luffield. We go on board with our helicopter. Not that you can see much through the haze and definitely through the spray. Very, very, very lacking visibility, very much lacking visibility. I cannot get my words out today as they come down the old pit straight and headed back towards Cops. It's going to be Coquito who's going to lead the Red Bull Moose through there, and he's close enough, though, where visibility there is going to be super, super tricky because look at all the spray that Mercedes is kicking up as they come through Maggots and Beckett's. Braden slides. Coquito has the advantage for now. Who is going to come out of this lap ahead? Braden is right there. Who's going to get the better run now as they come out of Chapel? Here comes the Red Bull Moose trying to make a move on the Mercedes. Is he close enough? By the time they come down into Stowe, the question is he's going to dip a tire out into the wet stuff. Here they come. He's going to try to go the long way round, but it is wet out there, and you can see him slide, struggling for grip as they come down towards Vale. Here they come. Maybe contact made. Yes, Coquito slides. Braden's going to have the spot, and that might be what he was trying to do, or maybe what kind of just accidentally happened, but now Coquito's trying to put the pressure back on him. So it looked like Braden in the wet stuff just got a little bit loose under brakes, and he kind of made a little bit of contact there with Coquito. So struggle so far out of the Red Bull Moose so far this race as far as making passes cleanly, but it is passes nonetheless.
And that battle right there allowed E Greco to widen out that gap even more, but you've got to remember he's got to widen that gap out to 10 seconds or more to win this race. So right now this
I,
is still the battle for the lead.
I can tell you what he doesn't want at the moment is a safety car. Yeah, safety car pretty much can make it very, very tricky to win the race as we see Uno Cinco coming up ahead of these guys. Of course, he will be getting those blue flags here pretty soon and will be obligated to move out of the way. And that battle has also brought Arnie back into the mix as well in the McLaren. So Arnie is right there, right behind the Mercedes now. So will Arnie be able to do anything in this race, make a little bit of noise here in the wet? The question is, when will it happen? Because it looks like Coquito is very, very, very much struggling at the moment. A little bit of a slide out of the Sauber there as they come down the hangar straight, looking like he's going to be trying to get out of the way of these guys. And no, he's going to park the bus right in front of the Red Bull Moose for now. Now he's going to move out of the way up into the wet stuff. And that's tricky whenever you have to get out of the way on a wet racetrack because you know that if you dip a tire off into the wet, it is going to be very tricky to still get that car stopped. You could run off wide, run into the gravel, and if that thing gets stuck, then that is going to be an unwanted safety car, virtual safety car, however you want to call it, but unwanted indeed, and you could also end your day very fast. It's better to just kind of bide your time like that as long as you know you're not going to be holding up the guy too much. And I think Uno Cinco did a very, very solid job, despite kind of getting in the way there. So the dry line is still there as we see Coquito run wide. Here comes Arnie now. Unplanned moment as those two were going to be side by side on the exit of the loop, and here they come now down the Wellington Straight. Coquito slides again. He's all in the wet stuff. Arnie's got that move done, and Coquito is struggling for grip. You can see it visually. He is sliding around in that Mercedes, not happy as it's wagging its tail all about the place on under power. So he's struggling so far as we have a safety car. The safety car is out.
And that is the
And
last thing Greco wanted to see.
yeah, we just got word that he said a very, very expletive message over the radio, so we definitely cannot play that one. But the
This
safety
is a
car
PG
is
program.
deployed. Yeah, the safety car is deployed, and you have to wonder what it was for. I didn't see anybody retire. And we are getting word that it was
Yeah,
from Oscar and some debris from his front wing mixed with the treacherous conditions. Apparently unsafe conditions to have debris laying in the track. So they needed to deploy the safety car to pick that up in these treacherous conditions. And the question is, as Greco is going to answer that for me, it looks like they're going to come into the pit lane. So Looks
Greco's
like.
going to lead. Will Braden come down to the pits, or is it just going to be Greco? And yes, Braden will
No,
follow
yep, it
with
looks
him.
like everybody's coming in to get a fresh set of boots. So Uno Cinco is going to rejoin the session in his Sauber. So it must have been his AI then that was in the way earlier. I did kind of forget that he had left the session. As we see, it looks like, yeah, Inters are going back on the Red Bull moves there. Inter's going to go back on. No, it's going to be full wet tires for the Mercedes. Wow. So under that safety car, Puck and Axel Eddy had stayed out. We're going to restart this race with 8 laps to go. So Puck will lead, then it's going to be Axel Eddy, then it's going to be Braden, then Brian, then Ivo. The top 3 do not have a time penalty, but look where Greco is. That is going to be the teller of the day. He still has that time penalty, and it looks like he might have actually gotten another one because he is, yeah, he's still got it, and he has come into the pit since, so it would have gotten rid of a time penalty, but then given him another one possibly. Well, let's come back to the green. Let's see what Puck can do here. The first time he's led today, had to try something to get the clean air to his nose and definitely get out of the spray zone. So he's going to have a clean track for the first time here today. Green flag back in the air. Puck leads us down to Abby. Axel Eddy in second. Braden third. Brian fourth. Ivo fifth. And I believe Ivo is still under AI control. So he's going to be very, very slow and off the pace as we come through the loop for the first time, or for the first time back since the restart now. And it looks like the rain is drying up. The question is, how much better are going to be new Inters compared to the old Inters as Braden looks to make a move on Axel Eddy? Can he make it work? Up to the inside of Brooklyn's. Of course he can. Axel Eddy runs wide. Braden's
And
going to run
Puck's
a little
just
bit wide
trying to
through
pull
Luffield.
away here.
Who's going to come out of this in P2, though? That's going to be the question. Can Braden get the traction down? Iva or Axel Eddy in the wet stuff, and Braden might have just... Yep, he did. He got the better traction in that drier line. It looked like Eddy tried to run all the way down to the bottom there where it was still wet, and that's what I think ultimately hurt him was just he couldn't get the power down because it was still super, super slippery there. Braden had the drier line, and that's what's going to put the power right down, but now Puck is going to have a very tricky time holding off Braden in that Red Bull Moose, who was coming at a very fast rate behind.
But if there's anyone that can hold Braden off, it would be Puck. Puck is the ECRL IndyCar points leader, but Braden is making a move here. It won't quite work right there. But as I was saying, Puck has a pretty good resume in these open wheel cars. He is the second ECRL Indianapolis 500 winner and the current ECRL IndyCar points leader. So I would say he has pretty good odds of holding off Braden, but Braden has those much better tires.
Much better tires, possibly much better wet race pace, and that's going to be the true teller. But Puck at the moment doing a very good job parking the car in exact places that he needs to. Thankfully for Puck at the moment, the dry line is still just dry enough where going outside the track, as you can see there, it's still super wet, so it's going to be very tricky to make any type of move there, and that's going to be what's going to ultimately hurt Puck possibly in the long run, as this track dries up, the overtaking opportunities become a bit more widened. As we come through Luffield once again, Braden's going to stick his nose up the inside. Who has better traction? Puck's going to have it there. At the moment, can hold off the Red Bull Moose. I'll tell you what, if he can do this for 7 more laps, he has definitely earned it as they come down towards Koffs once again, and he's practically pushing the McLaren through there as Braden now runs just a little bit wide. Brian Bromley sitting behind this battle. He has a 3-second time penalty, so he wants these two to get on with it because he wants to get on with it and try to get it down the road by about 3 seconds. That's going to be what's very, very tricky for him to do, though, at this point in time. Here they come now, out of Chapel, down the hanger straight once again. Here comes Braden. He's going to try to pull out a line to the outside. Can he make this one work, though, down into Stowe? It doesn't look like he's going to have the traction at all there, so I'm going to assume that he couldn't do it there. As they come down towards Vale, Puck continues to hold it. Now Brian practically pushing the Red Bull Moose as they come now towards out of the Vale chicane, towards Club Corner. Here comes the Red Bull Moose now down this main straight, and he's a bit further back. 6 laps to go, and the question is, how much more pace does Puck have to keep these two faster cars at the moment, it looks like at least, behind him? Here they
You know,
come
one
now
thing
through.
that it could do
Yep.
is it could bring young Exility into this fight, who is looking for his first ECRL Formula X
Well,
victory. He
here
has had.
comes Braden up the inside.
Can Braden make it work this time? It looks like he will. Braden blows right past Puck.
Couldn't do anything, and that was a big issue for Puck. As looks like Braden's going to now have the inside line. Here comes Brian trying to go around the outside. Can Puck keep the Ferrari behind him? Young Exility also right there. He's going to go into the wet stuff. That's not going to work out for anybody except for Brian, it looks like. As now it looks like he's going to get by Puck. Puck's going to settle back up into third. Now the running order is going to be Braden, then Brian, then Puck. And so that is very, very crazy stuff. It looked like Puck might have just ceded way a bit to Brian. I'm not 100% sure there. But at the moment now, Braden leads this one here in Silverstone. And this could be huge for him if he could somehow pull this one off, because the pace there for the Red Bull in the dry did not look there this weekend. And that's what it goes to show you in the wet. Anything can happen as they come through Vale once again. Major battle there for P8. I really couldn't get the word out there as they come now out of club down this Sir Lewis Hamilton pit straight. Greco, though, is on the charge. Even with a 10-second time penalty, I don't think he can win the race, but I don't see why he couldn't get up to third, maybe second, maybe win the race on the road at least. That's what he's going to be trying to do just to prove that point.
Something big to note right now is where they run right now. Braden would only be 36 points out of the championship lead if he can hold the lead right now. So
Yeah,
that
that's
could be,
important to note.
that is very
Very,
important.
very.
Could bring him right back into this fight.
Yeah, absolutely. He's probably not thinking he even has a shot at this title the way that his season has gone. And, it's a struggle to watch as, he's a two-time champion in this series and has just not been able to put the pieces together in the races that he would have liked, has only stood atop the podium once as he gets a 3-second time penalty for running wide. The pressure now as Ivo gets disqualified for running the wrong way on the track. That's an insane penalty to get. Now this race becomes interesting. Now Brian's got a 3-second time penalty. So now this race that was for sure possibly looking like a second win on the season is now not in the slightest. Greco, by the way, is absolutely flying. He is slicing and dicing his way through the back couple cars there. He's up the inside of Exility there in the back. Can he make a move on Puck down towards the Vale chicane? As multiple time penalties as get a 3-second time penalty. This is insane stuff towards the end. These guys are racing like it is the last lap, and it is coming up very, very fast with only 4 laps to go now. Braden's going to still lead it through Abbey. Brian is right there, and the track is drying up as we speak. You can see the line starting to get drier throughout the rest of the track. And it's still obviously drier there in that dry line, but it is getting there very, very quickly. Here comes Brian. Braden struggles a bit on traction. Can Brian get his second career ECRL Formula X win? Of course, he won in Monza, which is where we're going in 2 weeks' time. Brian, contact there in the back! Charles, Max, and Coquito! It's Coquito's in it! Wow!
This was looking like a really big point gain day for Coquito. Right now, it looks like he might not gain any points, or if he does, it's only going to be 1 or 2.
Wow, I cannot believe it. This might have worked out in a Momster's favor, and he's not even in the race. As
But
they
one
come now
thing,
through Mac. Continue, go for it.
oh yeah, one thing that is going in a person's favor is Braden right now, who is holding the lead over Brian, but Brian is hot on his
Brian
tail.
is right there. Here they come now towards Stowe. Brian within 0.3 of a second. This is going to be absolutely insane towards this finish. Can Brian make a move, get a win for the Scuderia? As they come now through Vale. Braden trying to hold him off through Club now. And it looks like he's got just a little bit better of a car through this part of the track as he's able to open up the gap just a little bit. How much is that? The dirty air affecting Brian. Greco up into third. He's going to be closing in on this battle extremely quickly. We see the ERS harvesting light on for Braden as they come through the village now and back towards the loop. And this is going to be huge. If you notice, the car in front of Braden is another Ferrari, and obviously team orders not a thing here, so Abby's going to get out of the way, but it wasn't he wouldn't have had to at the moment because he wouldn't have been seeing blue flags, but the dirty air still could have affected Braden. But Abby's going to do the right thing and move out of the way for both of them as they now come out of Luffield. This is going to be absolutely insane all the way towards the end of this one, and Greco is absolutely on the move as well. Don't count him out for finishing P2 or P3, maybe even the winner of the race on the road. I feel like he can't win it from this point, and a safety car can't come back out. I don't feel like he can win it from this point with that 10-second time penalty, but I don't see why he couldn't finish P2, at least P1 or P3 on the road, and at the rate he's going and of speed, no reason he couldn't possibly get a podium somehow out of today because that speed is there. Meanwhile, Braden still trying to hold off Brian for everything that he has got. We see the Ferrari shaking about now towards Stowe. Danny is out of the session. That's extremely disappointing for the Alpine, who has still not scored any points this season. Here they come now towards Vale. Braden still has the lead of this one. Brian's going to be right behind him as they come through Club Corner. Here they come. 2 laps to go here in Silverstone, and the track getting drier, the rain not coming down anywhere bad as it once was. They slide through Farm Curve back towards Village, and here comes Braden now on the brakes, but Brian's almost pushing him through these corners. It looks like the Red Bull is very, very much struggling so far throughout the end of this one. The Red Bull Moose team waiting patiently in the garage, their legs may be shaking, bouncing in anxiousness, and it looks like Braden at the moment can possibly hold off Brian. And I'll tell you, there's not another guy I feel like you would want behind you in a pressure-packed situation than Brian Bromley. But I also feel like there's not another guy who can cope with that pressure better than the two-time world champion as they come through Woodcut now, down this long pit straight, the old pit straight that is. Coming back towards Cops once again. Greco is back in the shot. At the moment, though, he is not going to have a shot at all to win this thing here today. As they come through, Maggots and Beckett's once again. Brian is losing just a little bit of time. The question is, how much battery can you save when this thing is all said and done? At the moment, they're saying the track is dry. Braden's saying it's soaked. That way DRS can't be enabled. Brian's saying it's dry as a bone. Here they come now, down towards Stowe. Once again, Braden's got the advantage still. Here comes Brian behind, shaking about once again. Both lights flashing on both cars. Down towards Vale. Brian looking around, trying to get the Red Bull Moose crossed up, outbrake himself. As they come through Vale, nobody places a foot wrong. Here they come now through Club once again. Back towards the stripe. 1 lap to go.
Man, the big question is, can Braden hold off Brian for one more lap? This has not been the season Braden has quite wanted, but that will make the taste of victory lane that much sweeter. But Brian is hot on his tail at the moment. But don't count out E. Greco. If these two get into each other, this race could fall right back into Greco's hands.
Here they come now, down towards Brooklands. You have Brian, who is right there, still within this one. More time penalties going out for everybody. It's like the race of time penalties here towards the end of this one. Everybody gets a time penalty. Now, as they come out of Woodcut, Brian's going to have one more shot. The rain has practically stopped. The track looks dry. Here they come, through Cops, the Red Bull Moose, then Ferrari, then Williams. Within the shot, Brian runs really, really wide there. So the question is, can he get close enough here through Maggots and Beckett's for the final time here this afternoon in the gray skies around the United Kingdom? Brian's going to run wide. Can he make it work? He's not going to get a time penalty, though. But here they come down the hanger straight once again. This might be the gap that Braden needed to hold on. Here they come through Stowe once again. Brian really far back now. He's going to have to make a kamikaze dive bomb down into Vale if he wants any more shot. He's not going to do it. And the two-time world champion is going to become a two-time winner on the season as he comes through Clubs. Braden wins in Silverstone. Brian second. At Greco's 10-second time penalty will put him where? Will it be on the podium? That is the question, as Asgetta is very far back. And you got to think that's a sigh of relief. No, it's going to be Greco who's going to be able to hold off on the podium. Then it's going to be Puck. Asgetta going to be P5. Then you're going to have Mickelson in P6. A solid day for him. Coquito with a great rebound, by the way, into P7. You know that is a very, very happy driver behind the wheel of that Red Bull Moose. He's going to be celebrating this one at least until next week in Imola. So very, very happy for sure. And yeah, what a race we saw today. What a race indeed. And we're going to send you right down to victory lane.
Man, this is a record-setting day too. Braden winning the most attended ECRL event in league history. 32 total drivers attending this historic event. That has to be
First,
a really good feeling for him too.
first driver ever to pull off a three-peat at a circuit. He has won all 3 British Grand Prix up to this point. So solid day for him. I don't think anything to be complaining about for him as far as this circuit goes. It looks like him and this circuit have quite a lovely relationship. It's getting quite used to having that Red Bull Moose at the top of the podium, isn't it?
It very much is. Braden just has a very good taste for this racetrack. Sorry, that might not be the correct words for it, but he just has a great track record here. And this could be the thing that kickstarts a potential championship comeback for him.
Well, if there's one thing you learn is that a two-time
Oh, we
champion,
see
as
the
we see
Ferrari
Abby
spinning
going
right there.
crazy in front of him. Yeah, I tell you, if there's one thing you learn from a two-time champion, it's that he is never out until he is, if that makes any sense at all. Let's head on down to victory lane.
Braden doing his signature backflip for the second time this season.
That's definitely a front flip there, Finn.
Yeah. Just his signature flip in general. Maybe
Yeah,
we'll get a
indeed.
backflip out of him at some point.
That'd be pretty cool, indeed. So the Red Bull Moose team celebrates below the podium. Puck was not on the podium, by the way. I feel like that's something to note. Greco did leave the session during all of that. Therefore, it did jump Puck up a position, as Greco didn't attend the race, but he was counted on the podium there. So it's going to be Braden, Brian, Greco, Puck, Esgeta, Mickelson, Coquito, Eddie, Cashboy, Charles Max rounds out that top 10. And it looks like Greco will be tracked in P10, so that's really strange to me because he was P3. So,
And we see
gotta
Mobster
love
down there,
EA
18th.
Sports. Yeah, I feel like that's gonna be a tough pill to swallow for him. I feel like if anybody can rebound though, it is definitely going to be him. Just the question is, how will it work for him in Imola? I think that's the key part to that Italian track, the home race for Ferrari. But you know what? I'm going to let you close us out here. We had a great one here in Silverstone. I'm Don Sullivan, and I'm signing out.
Thank you all for tuning in to the Great Britain Grand Prix. Tonight was an exciting show, and we will catch you all next time for Imola. See you all later.